If you want to grow your business, you need to be aware of your numbers. And I think there is one number that stands above all when it comes to growing your business. And that is your LTGPV divided by your CAC, so we get the ratio between these two numbers. This number is talked about quite a lot by Alex Hormozi in his book, $100 Million Leads, which I'd highly recommend if you're looking to grow a business. What I'm going to do is dive into the components of this ratio and then talk about the ratio itself. So the first part is the LTGPV, but what is that? So it is the lifetime gross profit value. So if we've got a customer or if we've got a client, we're wanting to know how much gross profit do we make over the lifetime of that customer. Now, obviously this needs to be broken down further because we've got the lifetime component and the gross profit component. So let's first look at the gross profit component. Now, this will differ depending on who you ask as to how to calculate gross profit, but the way I like to look at it is what is all the costs that go into servicing your customer or your client, and then what is the amount you get in for it. So the sale price is normally pretty easy. We can go, we sell something for $1,000, we sell something for $40. That's very easy to calculate. It's the cost side of things that's a little bit more challenging. So if we're selling an item, we're going to look at things like what is the actual cost for us to get that item? What does it cost for freight maybe to get it to us? What is the cost to post it out to a client? How can we calculate all of the costs? Some may even go a step further and look at labor costs in this section. It will just depend on how you run your business. Now, if you're doing a service-based business, it's going to be any direct costs. You might have some software costs that you need to pay for to service a client, but typically it's going to be your labor costs. So how much does it cost you to deliver this service to your client? So we know our sale amount, we know our direct costs, we now know our gross profit. And this is going to be looking at what is the average of this across each time you carry out a service. So whether you sell a product, each time you sell a product, or maybe you have a monthly service, so each time you provide that monthly service. So we now know the average profit we make off of that. We now need to know the lifetime, because if we want to work out the lifetime value of a client, we're going to need to know their estimated lifetime. And by lifetime, I mean how many times do they purchase from us? If we're running a retail store, what is the average amount of times a customer buys from you? If you're running a service-based business, how many services do they buy on average across their lifetime? Maybe you've got a monthly renewal. How many months do they stay for? How many years do they stay for? This is how we can work out the lifetime value of our customer. Once we know these two numbers, we can get our LTGPV, because we're simply going to take how many years or how many times does this person buy from us, times that by the average gross profit. So let's look at an example where we make $400 per service that we carry out, and on average, someone will buy from us 3 times. They'll stay with us 3 years. So we're going to make $1,200. So our lifetime gross profit value is $1,200. The next side is the CAC, or the customer acquisition cost, or client acquisition cost, depending on what you call your buyers. We now need to know, what does it actually cost us to acquire a customer? I believe there's 3 things that go into your customer acquisition cost. We have our direct advertising costs. Maybe we're actually paying for ads and we need to actually pay money out for that. Well, then that's going to be a cost. We then have our labor costs to produce our advertising efforts. So maybe that's to run our ads, it takes us costs, or maybe we pay a third party to do that, or maybe we're producing content. Then how much time do we dedicate to that? What is the wage cost of that? So we can work that out. And then there's the sales side of things. How much money are we spending on sales meetings, etc.? That's also a cost of us acquiring customers. And then to work out our CAC, we're going to be looking what are our total costs across all these activities, and we're going to divide that by our new customers. So let's have a look at an example here. Maybe we've spent $1,000 on ads. We also have spent $400 on wage costs to produce these ads and to run these ads. And this generated for us 10 leads. Now, we can't just take that because we might not close all the leads. So let's say we have a sales meeting with each of those leads, which also costs us about $100 in labor costs to have the sales meeting. So all of a sudden, we now have $2,400 in costs. We have our $1,000 in ad spend. We have our $400 of labor costs to run our ads. We have our $1,000 of labor costs to have our sales meetings. Now let's assume we close 8 clients from this. So now we can work out our CAC by simply taking our total cost, which was $2,400. We're going to divide that by our 8 new customers, and we now have a $300 CAC. Now, before I get into talking about the ratio, I'd love for you to subscribe to my email newsletter. In fact, I actually talked about a lot of these numbers over the last few weeks to my subscribers of the newsletter. It's completely free to join. I'm sending out more business tips and more tax tips every single week. Now let's talk about our lifetime gross profit value to our customer acquisition cost ratio. Let's talk about how we calculate it, what's a good ratio, and how do we improve it. So to calculate it is pretty simple. We've got to take our two numbers that we've worked out so far. So in this situation, we had a $1,200 lifetime gross profit value and a $300 customer acquisition cost. So we end up with a 4.0 ratio. Now, is this good? Well, it probably depends on who you ask. In Alex Hormozi's book, he talked about having at least a 3.0 ratio. That's what he's seen from successful businesses. That's one of the key numbers he looks at when investing in business. But it's really going to depend on your own personal goals, how much fixed costs you got, how many total customers you're bringing in, what type of profits you want to generate, what type of industry you operate in. All these things are going to factor into whether your number is good. And you're probably going to want to compare against yourself. Are you increasing this number over time, or is it actually getting worse? What type of advertising you're getting could also impact this ratio. Maybe you're getting a different ratio when you do Facebook ads versus when you create content for YouTube. What you want to do is work out what your goals are within your business and make sure you're tracking this number with a goal in mind. Now, how do you improve this number? Well, there's only three ways. It's to increase the lifetime value of a customer, increase the gross profit of that customer, or it is to reduce the customer acquisition cost. Your goal should be trying to improve all three, because if you can do that, then this number will skyrocket. Now, why do I like this number so much? Because I think it incorporates nearly everything within a business. We're looking at our lifetime value of a customer. So we need to provide a good value so they keep coming back to us. We're then looking at the gross profit, which looks at the efficiency of our business. Are we being efficient, and are we producing the gross profit that we could? And then we're looking at our customer acquisition costs. We're starting to look at some of our costs, and are we making sure our marketing efforts are well directed and at an appropriate price? We put all these together, and I think we have a really important number when it comes to running your business. One of those aspects is the gross profit, and we need to understand our gross profit margins. In this upcoming video, I talk about the importance of gross profit, how you can improve it, and what impact that will have on your bottom line. I hope to see you over there.